This is the Blairing Out with Eric Blair show tonight, coming to you from Comics, Tunes, and Toys in beautiful Tustin, California, with the legendary drummer of the Slits, the Raincoats, and the Flowers of Romance, Paloma McLardy, also known as Palmolive. How you doing?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Experience of the movie premiere last night for you.
So we have done a few of those in England, but I was coming to LA, and I think LA is a great place for music, and there's a lot of fans. So I thought it was wonderful. Like, people had good questions. So we showed the movie Here to Be Heard, the story of the Slits, and made by William Badgley, and so it was great. The people were like really into it. It was a small setting in Echo Park Film Center. Anyway, I had fun.
Did you reconnect with any old friends there last night?
I met Allison and then Vice, who also played with the Raincoats too. Mm-hmm. I call him my kid, mm-hmm, because he listened to the Raincoats and he liked the sound of the drums, so he plays the drums. And he was there, but I don't know anybody around here. I did meet a lot of old friends when I went to London. You know, with Tessa, I reconnected, and a lot of people. Was very special.
What effect did growing up in Spain under the dictatorship of Francisco Franco's fascist regime have on you and your family?
It had a lot of effect on me, because the way I grew up, you know, when you're little, very little, you don't know. But as you became more conscious of your surroundings, your culture, I was very rebellious. I didn't understand. I mean, it was very machista, and basically, really, you could not act on any thoughts that came against his regime, his way of seeing life. You know, there's movies you couldn't see. So people had to sneak out and go to France to watch them. You couldn't have certain books in your house. Imagine. And so now I'm a young girl. I'm not putting up with that. I'm out of a big family of 9. So number 8. So I already had a lot of conversations at home with my older brothers. I listened, and I thought that was very unjust, and I didn't want it, and I didn't care what happened to me. So we read communist books. You know, we just thought we were going to do the revolution, and we got very involved in and there was a lot of really wonderful poetry, and the people, singers of that time, like Juan Manuel Serrat, Paco Ibáñez, a lot of those, kind of like Bob Dylan. It was this parallel kind of move. And so the words were so inspiring, and I, as a teenager, I locked myself in the room and just listened to them until I knew them, you know, like kids were doing all over, you know, in America and in England. So that created that strict regime. It created in me the opposite. I'm not going to have that. I'm not putting up with that. I don't want to, if a guy wanted, you know, there was very, men would just, you know, I found, people that I knew, that I love or whatever, you know, they just cheat on their wives, and their wives had to take it and be at home and wait for the guy. And, I'm not doing that. If he cheats, I cheat or whatever. You know, I just had an attitude that didn't fit what I wanted in life. You know, I looked for justice. Truth was very important. But mixed with it, it's you know, when you're a teenager, you know everything. So I thought I knew everything. And so, but I was definitely not going to have it, and I was going to do something about it.
And what did you do about it?
What did I do? Well, I packed my bags. I didn't know anybody in England, and I landed in London. I had some money to be able to sneak through the customs. I sent the money to a friend so that he could come. I had no money, got a job, and didn't know the language. And somehow it happened. I stayed. Eventually, you know, I found the squat scene.
Where did you find the courage at such a young age to leave your family behind and be able to enter into this new world that you've never seen before?
I always had a sense of if something that I could do. I don't know. I just had this sense that if something wasn't right, I was going to fight for it. I didn't want that. To me, just the world didn't make sense, and I wanted to explore. To me, London signified freedom. And so I was attracted to that. So I saw like hippies coming through. We were in the south of Spain, in Malaga, and you'll see these hippies with a backpack. And they just walk in there. My dad would bring them home, actually, to give them a meal, which it was nice of him. And we would just look at them like they were like warriors or something, like really like amazing. And I just thought, what a thing to just get a backpack and just go.
So tell me the story of how meeting drummer Richard Dudansky, who played with the 101ers and later the Raincoats and Public Image, and who married your sister Esperanza, changed your life.
Esperanza had gotten together with Richard, and she introduced me to him. So she was actually going back to Spain, so we kind of crossed paths. So he just helped me to get a room. And the squad scene was like 3 or 4 houses. We were friends, everybody knew each other, so we're newcomers. And so we just got a room. Okay, so the way it changed is so he opened the door to the squad scene, And there he was playing with Buddy at the time, so who became Joe Strummer, right? So he was playing the drums, and we just basically for 2 years or something, we just they organized scenes, gigs, and we helped, with flyers and whatever. We all kind of everything we did together. We will have meals in one of the squads, and everybody went there, a lot of pot, just like hanging out, basically. We didn't have to pay for the houses. Mm-hmm. I mean, we had a situation that I looked back and I laughed, like the sparkles coming from, they were connecting the wires mm-hmm. to go bypass, the meters. Mm-hmm. I saw those sparkles. We were thrown back. Mm-hmm. Those things were right. Nobody had any idea of how one person knew a little bit, so he was the expert.
Did you find peace living in the commune with Joe Strummer, who at the time was Woody?
I wasn't really looking for peace. So I found that it was really fun, and we started to really like each other, and our relationship was going great. And we were doing gigs, and we were going dancing, so there was so much that was happening that it was just fun. Was it peaceful? In fact, towards the end of the 2 years or whatever, I can't remember, 73, around 76, I started getting really not peaceful, but very restless. I was getting tired of just hanging around. And I was glad for him that he had the group. The 101ers were getting more, known and noticed. They would write little blurbs in the paper. So I thought they were doing really well, but I felt I wasn't doing anything. And I felt like I needed to do something, find my own thing, And I told him, I said, something is wrong. I need to go. I need the space. And I went to Scotland with a friend, someone from the squads, 2 or 3 of us decided one, so it was in the summer. When I get restless, I need to figure out, it's something has to change. So I didn't really find peace wasn't but there was a lot of things that I found that were very positive. We did a lot ourselves, like the do-it-yourself that is assigned, say, to the punk rock. I mean, hippies were we were creating a whole culture.
Were you on the dole?
Yeah, of course.
How did you get on the dole if you weren't a citizen?
Mm-hmm. I don't know, I just did. I can't remember those details.
Did you think that Joe Strummer's musical pursuits were authentic, or was it just about the power of being famous?
He definitely had the ambition of being famous. To him, it was mixed with his musical ambition. Definitely being famous was important to him. I remember walking down, we were together, and right at the beginning of when we got together, and he said that he pointed to the Windsor Castle, which was a pub where they had like bands, and they were like, we were renting, I think, for £1, this dingy room, which to us it was great, but it was for £1, and we organized it and we did it right in this other pub, the Chippenham pub. So that one was more like high class, like, which it wasn't really bad to us. And he pointed at it and said, one day I'm gonna play there. And I just thought, that's so funny. Like, so you want to be famous? He said, yeah. And I just remember coming from Spain, that seemed like childish, but I also liked that he was honest about his feelings, that he wasn't ashamed to say, yeah, I want to be famous, You know how everybody tells you money and fame is bad. And he just like, he wanted it. He really was, that was his priority.
But the thing is that he came from a wealthy family.
Actually, that came in the conversation that time when we were walking. He said, my brother died and he chose death. I choose life. And so it was like fighting for something, it was his way to respond to his pain of his brother and just like the emptiness he felt, really. So that was a way to satisfy that longing.
After the Clash were successful, did you ever see Joe again?
No. So I broke up with him, and I really didn't want to see him. I saw him after, like one time at my sister's house, and I said to him, I was with my husband, Dave. We were just together, and I had a kid, I think, and they were passing some beers or something else, and he just like, I said, no, I don't want one. And he goes, oh, so you don't drink now? He said a little patronizing. I'm like, whatever. No, I don't. And so I had, now I can look back and see his qualities and that, but it wasn't like, it was a rough time. And so it wasn't a good ending, so to speak. We had a good relationship while it lasted, but like the ending wasn't that. And we were both very young and trying to figure out life.
How did you see Joe change after the 101ers performed with the Sex Pistols at the Nashville Room on April 3rd, 1976?
So it was in the Nashville, was the 101ers play one week and the Bishops play the next week. So it was a pub scene, and they were taking turns. And the Sex Pistols were supporting, and he happened to be supporting the other band, and they brought their equipment, right? So imagine. So Joe, instead of thinking, man, that could have been my guitar, which was, his guitar, he was just excited about the persona of Johnny Rotten. Like, he was like, this is my door. This is it. And so he wasn't threatened by that. He was actually wanted to jump right in. So how did I see him change? His hair chopped, black, like painted, like, like he will like splash paint on his jeans, like the look was different, the name was different, Joe Strummer. Like everything was like, we're breaking with the past. Part of it was the manipulation and a lot that's one thing that I give to ourselves, the girls, like the Slits and the Raincoats. We didn't want someone telling us what to do. We wanted to auto-define ourselves. Even if we didn't know what we wanted, whatever it was going to be, we were going to decide. Someone was not going to, because that to us was part of punk. And so that didn't make sense. So, but the boys had more like that ambition thing, and they were actually more pliable with Bernie, the Clash, and with Malcolm, the Sex Pistols. I think Johnny was the one that Johnny Rotten gave Malcolm more, made him work for his money, maybe more. Malcolm really ripped them off. So they got what they wanted, they got to the big venues, and we were like 2 years, like we had 8 songs and we were playing on that, but we would rather wait.
During your time with Joe, what did you learn from each other?
I think I brought up a lot of like the whole political thing from Spain. Like I was very politicized because of Franco, and the situation we had in Spain. Joe brought to me was like at that time Hare Krishna, or the gurus were going through London and everybody was into transcendental meditation and all that. And I just remember him saying, really, the real freedom is not a political thing, it's something of the heart. And I thought that was powerful. Like, I really was touched by that. And so I started being more interested in things like that. And then I know that he was, he would always want to know stories about the Civil War, or I will tell him about, like, my dad, stories from my dad and that. So, I don't know, like, we were happy. Like, we were like, he was very childlike, and I'm kind of too, I like to play, and just be carefree and, and I also love, like, he was more like focused, and because of the ambition, I was just like, like just whatever. But I think he helped me. Like, I will get these ideas. I think I'm going to do a shop or something. He will go, is that what you want to do with your life? And I go, no, not really. I just had the idea. I think we helped each other, And I think when punk exploded, then that was like that dynamic. We were like reinventing ourselves. When something so drastic changes, like I was like picking, okay, I can relate to this of punk, but I don't relate to other things, So at the beginning, it was just very small group of people, so it was the Sex Pistols and the Clash and the people that were friends. That's where I got my name. One time we went out with Paul Simonon, like he said, what's your name? And I said, Paloma. And he just like joking, and he goes, oh, Palmolive. And we were all looking for new names, new clothes, you would go to like thrift shops, and just get, we'll just make our own clothes. And so I grabbed it. I said, yeah, I'm Palmolive. And that's where that comes from.
How did you come to play drums?
I came back from Scotland, having a break from trying to figure out my life. And I said, you know what I want to do? I want to be a mime artist, like a street performer. That's what I want to do. So I started practicing, and there was no internet then. So it was different, so you just I started juggling balls and that. I found this Belgian guy I had a friend, Big John, and he was in this group, street performing group that they had just started. And so he invited me. So I got there, the leader was this Belgian guy. I thought he was like Franco's nephew or something, because he was like with his girlfriend, he was having her like do all this jump and do this and do that. And he said, we don't need a mime. What we need is someone to do the rolls when she did the gymnastics. I thought, okay, I'll do it. But after 3 days with the guy, I could not handle it. And so I left, but I had hit those drums. And when I hit those drums, it felt good, because I love dancing. Like, I like rhythm. I relate to more than melody. I love hearing melody. I love hearing music. But I feel like I have more of a connect to rhythm in a special way. So when I hit those drums, and then I started, forget about the Belgian guy. I just forgot about miming and all that when at the window. And I just started practicing a little, it sounded good to me on the toms. And that's how I started. So then I called my dad. So I didn't have my own drums. I said, Dad, would you send me? I never asked him for money. I have to say I went there on my own, but I needed the money. So I called him and said, Dad, would you send me 60 pounds? It was. For a batería, in Spanish, you say, Papá, me das para una batería. And he goes, batería de cocina? So batería is like with pots and pans? And I go, no, batería, drum set, because it's the same word. So anyway, so that's how I got my drums, and that's how it just went from there.
Had you seen Sid Vicious in your circles of friends already?
If I did, it might have been, probably in a gig or something, but I wasn't, he was just one of the guys there, right? But he was definitely an icon already. Johnny Rotten definitely was. Malcolm definitely was. So there was a status in the punk. And so those guys were, they were like the model. Mm-hmm. They were the real thing, and everybody else wasn't really like kind of. So they, so I had seen him, but so I got invited to be in the band, the Flowers of Romance, and I jumped right into it. And we were practicing in my house, and he was just like, we finished practice, everybody left. Vivian Albertine, that was in the Slits after, she left, and Sarah, and he didn't. And he's hanging out. And I'm like, just broken up. Like, we would just me and Joe were just breaking up. And I'm like, why is this guy still here? And then I have my mini skirt, and, and he's like trying to act all macho. And he goes, I hate blacks. Looks at me, I hate blacks. And I go, I hate people that hate blacks. I was not in a good mood. And I also felt like being a punk, you speak your mind. But he was Sid Vicious, and he thought he could do whatever he wanted. So, but I didn't think so. So anyway, so it didn't when and friends came, and so anyway, he just left. And then the next time he said, you're out of the band. I heard that from someone, you're out of the band. I go, what do you mean I am out of the band? And I said, why? And he goes, you're just not right. Basically, I did not sleep with him. And so, thank God, really, when you think of what could have happened. So then that was it.
How would you describe his personality? I
think I would say he had this front, like tough, and but he was really like a young kid, like in a way I would say even shy. But this bravado, like, like a peacock, like a little bit with his leather and his stance, like just showy, I would say. But, like more. But I have to say, to be fair too, so that was our interaction. So after that, like, we did not hang out together, you can imagine. Like, I did not like him and whatever,
So during the time that you were in the Flowers of Romance, was Keith Levine in the band?
No, it was just all three girls. It was Vivian, Sarah, me, and him in the front.
Okay.
But really, we were like a month or something, or maybe maximum 2 months. We were really a short time. I mean, could have been even less. So it was a very short-lived. But so that experience, the significance of it was that it made me feel like I don't want to be dealing with that. Mm-hmm. If I want to go with a guy, I want to go with a guy. Not because if you're working with someone, you don't want to feel like. So I didn't want to deal with that. So I just say I'm gonna look for other girls to do a girls band.
The Blairing Out Show.